in lockdown. Don't venture away from your radio. Don't go outside. Don't get infected. Welcome to Quarantine. Quarantine Radio Theater brings you new productions of old-time radio as well as new productions of original material. So, dim the lights, sit back, and close your eyes. We are in quarantine. Welcome to our third episode of Season 2. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. And we here at QRT headquarters are so glad to have you join us. If you like what you're hearing and would like to leave us a comment, please look up and like our Facebook page. We love to hear from all of you. Tonight, we escape to a lonely lighthouse off the steaming jungle coast of French Guiana, and a nightmare world of terror, as Quarantine Radio Theater presents the hair-raising tale, 3 Skeleton Key. To this place, a gray tapering cylinder welded by iron rods and concrete to the key itself. A bare black rock 150 feet long, maybe 40 feet wide.
And that's at low tide. At high tide, just the light, rising 110 feet straight up out of the ocean. And all about it, the churning water. Gray-green, scum-dappled, warm as soup and swarming with gigantic bat-like devilfish, great violet schools of Portuguese man-of-war, and yes, sharks. The big ones. The 15-footers. And if that wasn't enough, there was a hot, dank, rotten, smelling wind that came at us day and night off the jungle swamps of the mainland. A wind that smelled like death. Set in the base of the light was a watertight bronze door. And in you went. And up. Yes, up and round, past the tanks of oil and the coils of rope, cases of wicks, racks of lanterns, sacks of spuds and cartons and cans, and up and round. Over the light storeroom was the food storeroom. Over the food storeroom was the bunk room where the 3 of us slept. Over the bunk room was the living and cooking room, and over the living and cooking room was the light. She was a beauty, balanced like a ballerina on the glistening steel axle of her rotary mechanism. At night, you'd lie there on the stone deck of the gallery, with the light revolving slowly and quietly above your head, easing her bright white eye 360 degrees around the horizon. He'd lie there watching to see if the feeders kept working, that everything ran right. It wouldn't be bad. The other 2 fellows snoring to their sacks 2 levels down. You'd smoke your pipe to kill the stink of the wind. It wouldn't be bad. About those other 2, Louis and August. What a pair. Louis, he was headman. He was a big fellow from the Basque country. Black beard, little hard black eyes, and a pair of arms that... I tell you, those arms were big around as my legs. And yes, headman he was, and what word he did let go was law. Silent fellow, and although I spent the first 2 weeks trying to strike up a real conversation, the most I ever got out of him was...
Jane, I took up this profession because I don't like people. They talk too much. It's quiet work, light tending. Let's keep it that way. You're getting to be as bad as August. I thought maybe for once they'd send me somebody who could keep his mouth shut.
That was Louis. When he accused me of becoming like August, I quieted down, because August was the talkingest man I had ever met. The talkingest and the ugliest. He was hunched back, stood 4 feet high, and had red hair and big blue eyes. Seems he'd been an actor in Paris.
Played in over 200 different productions, dear boy, at the Grand Guignol. Oh, but it was monstrous, horrible the way we used to scare the audience. I was hated. Yes, they used to throw things and hiss and bare their teeth at me. Finally, it got too bad. I couldn't stand it any longer. I gave up the theater. My nerves, you understand. Yes, gave it up completely. I really did. I couldn't stand it any longer.
It all started one morning at 2:30. I was on watch, lying on the cool stone deck, pulling on my pipe, staring out at the blackness, the phosphorescent combers, and the big yellow stars, when, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something show up for a second. Something the light had touched, far off. I waited for her to come around again, and when she did, there it was. A three-master, a big one, about a half-mile off and coming down out of the north-northwest, coming straight for us. Now, you must understand, our light was where it was for a very good reason. Dangerous submerged reefs surrounded us, and ships kept clear, but this sailing vessel was coming straight on. I went over to the gallery and yelled down, "Louis! Louis!"
Huh? What is it?
"Ship, headed for the reefs."
I'm coming right up.
I had the glasses out now. I couldn't read her name, but I could see her quite plainly. All sails set, the foam creaming away under her bow, her beautiful lines. A Dutch ship, I guessed her, but why didn't she turn? Every time it passed, her light hit her with the glare of day.
Ship? Where?
Northwest. The light'll touch her in a moment.
Huh? Well, can't she see us?
Oh, look at her. She just keeps coming on.
Squareheads.
What is it?
Watch. Northwest.
I know. I know what it is.
What?
The Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman. We did a play about her once. Oh, what a performance. You ghastly galleon, hag-ridden, curse-driven, must on and on.
Ah, shut up, will you? She's laughing.
Yes.
That's a sloppy way to come about. She's derelict. That's it.
Derelict?
Abandoned. Crew left her for some reason or another. But instead of sinking, she's gone on, running before every wind.
She'll not run long. Not with those reefs to break her up.
That's a beautiful ship. Now, why would men leave a beautiful ship like that?
She didn't ram us, although we all expected it. But as we waited for the crash, she luffed again, caught some odd gust, and went about. We watched her the rest of those black hours, heeling and rocking, pushed and pulled by every stray wind, every freak current. Watched her until the dawn came, till the sun turned from black to pearly gray, and she came again, heading for us. We all had our glasses trained on her now.
August, you can kill the light.
Right, Chief.
She doesn't look so good by daylight. Think she'll ground this time? I say, do you think she'll ground this time?
This is impossible. Absolutely impossible.
What?
Here, take my glasses. They're better than yours.
All right. What is it I had to focus, and then my breath froze in my throat. The decks were swarming with this dark brown carpet that looked like a gigantic fungus, but undulating. And on the masts and the yards and the guys and all, there were hundreds, no, thousands, no, millions, no, I don't know, an inestimable number of tremendous rats.
I see them.
Yes, I see them.
And now we know why she's derelict.
Yeah, now we know.
What are you two doing? Here, give me a look.
Yes, give him the glasses. Take a good look, chatterbox. Give you something to talk about.
She's still heading for us.
Yes.
Oh,
If she's going to turn, she'd better turn soon.
Suppose she doesn't.
I mean, suppose she piles up on the quay?
It's low tide.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Well, where's all the conversation, August? Here, you want the glasses again? You want another look?
no, no.
She's still coming on.
Go away. Go away.
Turn, will ya? Turn, I say. I pray you turn.
Cracked up.
The rats. Look. On the water. Like a carpet.
They're swimming.
Sure, they're swimming. Those are ship's rats.
But they're swimming for the rocks.
The door below. It's open.
Eh? Well, come on! Down we went, racing down the stone stairs, taking them 3 or 4 at a time. Scared? You bet we were scared.
August, you get the windows. Maybe they can climb. We don't know.
Right, Chief, but hurry. Hurry.
Look, you see them?
No? Oh, yes, I do. Up at the other end of the rock.
Look at them.
Millions.
Oh, they smell us. Here they come. Well, close the door.
I can't. It's stuck.
Here, let me. Ah! Holy, that was close.
Look, one got in.
Now get him.
Watch it. Kick him! He was as big as a tomcat. Bigger. His eyes were wild and red, his teeth long and sharp and yellow. He went for us, starving, ravenous, and we fought him. Fought that one rat all over the room. It was... Oh, believe me, I do not exaggerate. It was like fighting a panther.
I got him.
We better get aloft.
Yeah.
As we ran up the winding staircase, we passed the tiny windows of the various levels, and at every one was a thick, wriggling, screaming curtain of brown fur. I was ahead of Louis, and I dreaded each successive level. Suppose they'd found a way in.
Look at them. Oh, will you look at them?
It's a nightmare.
Will you look at them?
The air of the gallery was thick, fetid with the stink of them. Light was dim brown, filtered to the crawling mass that swarmed over the glass, all about us. We couldn't see the sky, nothing. Nothing but them. Their red eyes, their claws, their wriggling, hairy snouts, and their teeth. The rats. They screamed and howled and threw themselves against the glass. They were starving, and we were 3. We stood very quietly, oh, very, very quietly in the center of the glass room, under our beautiful lights, and we waited.
What can we do? What can we do, Chief?
Take it easy. Take it easy.
I can't. I just can't.
It won't do any good to just stand here and shake.
That's right.
Go away. Go away, do you hear me? Go away this instant.
They won't go away. Not until...
Finish it, Chief. Not until... What?
Not until they've been fed.
You can take just so much horror, and then you get used to it. And they were interesting to watch, you know. They couldn't understand the glass. They could see us, and they could rush at us, but that thin, invisible barrier held them off, stopped them. From time to time, we caught a glimpse of the rocks below. More rats down there, swarming brown velvet in the bright tropical sunlight. And the tide began to rise. If only it drowned some of them.
Ship's rats don't drown. No, sir. You can't drown one of them. They're all climbing up the tower.
This bunch around us is getting thicker.
Yeah. Say, what's the time?
6:15.
You've got first watch, Gene.
Right.
Wake me at 10.
I will.
Come along, August.
It was getting dark. One side of the room was lit a soft filtered red. Sunset through the rats. Oh, very pretty. I set the wicks, checked my fuel, and lit the lamp. It caught them, lit them in their gigantic wriggling web of pale, hairless bellies, twitching red tails, bright eyes, and then I started the rotary motor. The light drove them mad as she swung slowly and smoothly about. She blinded them in the fierce, stabbing bar of light, moving continually about, ever turning, ever touching, ever moving around and around. And they, twitching and shuddering, eyes flaming when they were struck by the light, the bright light moving, and behind on the dark side of the room, so close I dared not turn my back. But you can't help turning your back when you're in a room made of glass. On the dark side of the room, you couldn't see them, but only their eyes. Thousands of points of blank red light blinking and twinkling like the stars of hell. When I came up into the gallery early the next morning, there stood August. His back to me, he was bowing to the rats, waving his arms and making a speech.
Dear audience, I am going to play once again that magnificent role which made me the toast of Paris theater. Prelate, the evil genius of the medieval underworld. I am he who did guide the dark soul of de Rochelle into the nether parts. Don't be frightened, little children. I won't hurt you much.
He kept turning. He stood staring at him, horror-struck, but he didn't notice me. The man had gone mad. He kept turning, telling his stories to all the rats, leaving no one out. August! August!
Ah, another one. A latecomer. Take a seat on the aisle, dear patron.
August, stop it! Stop it!
Gingeray! The blood-stained monster was my partner in iniquity. Together we disemboweled over 400 little children, leaving their warm, blood-splattered...
But he didn't stop. He went on bowing and scraping to the rats, his big blue eyes rolling and winking, the wild red hair waving about him. I grabbed him by the arms and slapped his face. He looked at me like a child, and then his face screwed up. He looked as though he was about to cry. Go below. Go on.
Oh, very well then. Later, my dear audience, later. Matinee today!
Jerry was crazy, but I guess we all were. A few hours later, he came back up and caught Louie and I teasing the rats. Yeah? Sounds horrible? But it was fun. We would get right up against the glass and make faces at him. It drove them crazy. They would scratch away trying to get at our eyes. Louie was even cuter about it. He'd pull a piece of bread out of his pocket and press it against the glass. The rats would scramble into a solid ball, biting each other, clustering like grapes. From time to time, a whole knot of them would just slip off and fall the 110 feet to the surf below.
Look! Look at the sharks!
They're eating them.
Those sharks are our friends. Ah, here. I'll get another bunch together. Here, my beauties. Ah, that's it. Pile up. Kill each other, huh? There they go.
August joined in too. Very ingenious, August. He learned that if he spread-eagled himself against a glass, they'd bunch and bundle around his figures. Then he'd leap back.
Look, my portrait in rats.
It went on all day, and then I was lying in bed. It was about midnight. I was very tired, and I was just beginning to fall off to sleep when I became conscious of a new sound. Couldn't figure it out at first. I got up, lit the lamp, and went to the window. Even as I looked out, I saw one of the panes begin to sag in. They had eaten the wood away. Louis, come quick!
What? What is it?
They found a way in. I held the glass with my hand. Now they were all going crazy, and assured of the success of this maneuver, were nibbling away at the wood. Louis ran below and then returned with a large sheet of tin. We spread it against the window and hammered it into place. Even as we did so, we felt the heavy bodies thudding against the other side as the window gave way.
There! That ought to hold. If it doesn't, we're done for.
Rats can't eat tin.
No, they can't.
What was that?
I don't know. It came from below.
The storeroom window.
They're in! They're swarming up the stairs.
Drop the trap.
Right.
2 of them got in.
Let's go after them.
We didn't have to go after them. They came at us. I leaped to one side and grabbed a marlin spike, swung and smashed one in midair. I whirled to see Louis with the other, and had ripped his hand open and there was blood pouring out. He held his hand aloft and kicked at the snarling rat. I stepped up and swung and got him.
Oh, my hand! He got my hand!
That's both of them. Louis, I'll get you something to tie that up.
Blood! Look at it! My blood! I'm bleeding!
Don't worry about it, Louis. Here, I'll wind this handkerchief around it. It'll be okay.
Blood.
There. That's not bad. It's just the flesh. And then I became conscious of a new sound. They were gnawing their way through the wooden trapdoor. I watched the wood, fascinated, and even as I did, it began to give way, and a bristling, whiskery nose shoved through. Louis, we've got to go up! The next level was the living quarters and the kitchen. I slammed the trapdoor, but it too was wood.
My blood. My blood. My blood. What are we going to do?
I don't know. They'll be through this one in a minute.
The gallery. The trapdoor in the gallery is metal.
Good. Come on. We made it. We lay across the trapdoor, exhausted. Below us, the rats took over the entire tower. I could hear them howling and fighting over our food supply, our water, our leather. And all about us, the others screamed and glared in at us, swayed in a tangled mass, hypnotized by the ever-turning light. By morning, the air in the little room was horrible. Until now, we'd been getting air from the tower below, but now that was sealed off. And so was all our food and water. We lay exhausted, panting, waiting, and the hours crawled on. I was almost dozing from the fatigue when I saw a sight that brought me to. Fast.
Would you like to come in, my beauties? Would you? I hold the powers of life and death, and I can let you in, you know.
August was standing by the glass. In one hand he held a big wrench. He was tapping on the glass gently, not quite hard enough to break it. I eased myself to my feet slowly, very slowly, tiptoed toward him.
All I have to do is tap just a little harder, and...
I found a coil of wire in the toolkit and trussed him up, fastened him to a stanchion in the center of the room. Louis was of no help. He laid on his side looking at his bloody hand, weak and sick as a baby. So there I was, a lunatic and a coward for company, all about watching our little drama, the rats. The day dragged by. The supply boat wasn't due for another 12 days. I don't know what they could have done if they had come, and we only had one way of summoning them. That was to shoot off distress rockets, but the rockets were 4 floors below, and even if they'd been right there in the gallery, I couldn't have opened a window to fire them. That night I tended the light, but its flame was devouring our oxygen. The following day we lay thirst-tormented, starving, waiting. The following night I again tended the light, but the small supply of spare wicking we kept in the gallery had become exhausted, and quite suddenly, at about midnight, the light went out. There was nothing I could do. Wicks were stored 3 levels below. Nothing I could do. Nothing. From time to time, I'd strike a match to see the clock. And when I did, it lit up a million red eyes about us. All about. Watching. Waiting. Below, it had grown quiet. They cleaned us out, and now they too were waiting. All waiting. And the rats, quite suddenly, were silent. And then I heard it. And then I saw the sky and the stars. The rats were gone. I went to the glass. Out there on the water, a small freighter, a banana boat showing a few lights, came softly and innocently toward us. Our light was out. They didn't know. I wanted to open the windows to call out to them, to warn them somehow, but I was afraid. And what if the rats were hiding from me, tricking me? So I waited. She grounded very softly on a reef not 200 yards from the quay. Grounded so gently the man playing the cornet, was he a passenger, a crewman off watch? Didn't even stop playing. They tried washing her back off. I could have told them to save their fuel. The tide was rising, would have floated free. And I waited. That's all. That's the story. The sun came up and there wasn't a rat on the whole quay. Every last one of that terrible army had left us, gone back to sea, on their new ship. August? Insane asylum. He never recovered. And Louis? They took him into Cayenne, where he died of blood poisoning from his bite. Yes, that's the whole of it, and if you'll excuse me now, I must go set up my traps. No, mouse traps. No rats in this lighthouse, I should say not. Life in the lights isn't bad, but sometimes when I see a strange vessel approaching, I get a little nervous. Sure, somewhere on the seas there's a little banana boat without a crew. That is, without a human crew.
You have been listening to Quarantine Radio Theater's production of Three Skeleton Key, featuring the vocal talents of Kelly Hoagland as Jean, Brian Kapler as Louis, and Bill Burke as August. Three Skeleton Key was originally broadcast in November of 1949. If you like this show, please go to our Facebook page and leave us a comment, like and subscribe to our YouTube page, or you can subscribe to any number of podcast sites throughout the web. I'm Brant McCants, and along with the rest of the QRT gang, we are reminding you to please be safe out there, and remember to be kind to one another.